We'll leave that. That's good.
No, I want
Hey,
something
coming
else.
up next, Neil Diamond's Easter in Bakersfield.
Can you believe
It's
this?
a spring classic. Enjoy.
You know, you should not distract the driver.
Stop! No! Okay! Ow!
My head's stuck.
Gosh!
You know, I'll pull this car over and I'll spank you. How would you like that on Easter Sunday?
Louie, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
This is, you know, you've been at entertainment as a comic and as a host for a while now, but this is sort of the kind of role, I think, without expecting it, only comes along once in a career. Does it feel like that?
I would say so. I would say that. It was just kind of like, you know, I was in Vegas. I was working. I was driving to work, and my agent said, "Louis C.K. wants your number." I go, "Give it to him." You know.
Were you a fan at the time?
Oh yeah, he's great comic. You know, and he calls a little while later and he goes, "Louie?" I go, "Louie?" Which is really fun because you hardly, as a Louie, ever get to say Louie to somebody. You know, "Hi Louie, hi Louie." It was weird, more for me than you guys, but. He goes, "We're doing a new show, Zach Galifianakis and me, and we want you to play a part." I go, "Yeah, I'll do it." He goes, "We want you to play his mother." I go, "Yes." I knew right away. I go, "Yes."
How did you know right away? What was it about that?
I seem like a mom, don't you think? I mean, isn't there, I think there's a maternal quality to who I am. I mean, you know, I care about people, and I come from a family of 11. So at some point, as a kid, you're somebody's mother when there's 11 kids.
I think, as you said, the maternal, but also naturally sweet nature. There's an element to you that almost no matter what would be coming out of your mouth or how angry you could be, there is an element of sweetness at your core that will always kind of shine through.
I guess so. You know, you don't know it when it's you.
Well, I've never seen you angry.
Like,
before,
I don't.
so I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't think of that. I don't think, "Hey, you're really a sweet person." You know what I mean? You're a mess. That's what I think. No, but I mean, when you look in the mirror, you don't usually say to yourself, "Hey, I'm a sweet person." You know what I'm saying? So, but I get what I get what you mean. I do have people have said, "You're so nice." I go, "Am I?"
Yeah. I don't imagine it would
And I don't mean it in like some weird way. I just like, you know, I wonder how many people know who they or how they really are.
Well, I imagine a person who would look in the mirror and say, "You're really sweet and a nice person," is a person who's actually not very sweet.
Yeah.
It just
Who's
reminds, like, just
who's
trying
just
to...
murdered someone,
Yeah.
right?
You're not a bad person.
You're not
You're
a bad.
sweet.
Hey, they shouldn't have lied to you.
It sounds like you've been there.
No, but I always think of murderers like, how do they justify? Then he went home and he cleaned himself up. He did?
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been my first thought. I would have thought, "Oh my God, I killed someone." But he said, "I should clean myself up." You know, but I mean, anyways, I don't know how we got into the murder thing. Just being in New York, maybe. It's just,
It just feeds in your
you
bones
just go,
right away.
"Ooh."
So Louie asks you, you say yes right away. So to a certain degree, it feels like a brilliant but almost obvious choice to you. Like, almost, why didn't I have this idea or somebody else have this idea before this? Because it makes so much sense.
I guess so. You know, with two things. Like, I've been always doing my mom's voice on stage because I do my mom, my dad, my little brother. As part of my act, at some point, I'll go into my mom's voice, which would be like, "Can we get some extra butter?" You know, when I do that bit. And the guy goes, "Yeah, let us seat your party first, ma'am." You know? So that always got a big laugh, and always people liked it. And
It just did.
yeah, but you know what I mean? So I've always done that. But it's a different voice than I use in the show.
Yeah.
I really use just my voice in the show.
Was that a conversation that you had with them, or did you think that they wanted you to do the mom voice, and they're like, no, just be Louie?
I think that we just silently, dealt with that. Like, here's what I'm thinking of saying. And Jonathan Kreisel, who did Portlandia and many, many other things, said, yeah, that sounds good. Real laid back set in that way.
Right.
And so I said, I don't want to affect my voice like, oh, now, I didn't want to be that person for the character because I thought it would come off as a cartoon then.
It would come off as a cartoon, and then it would sort of play up the joke of you playing the mother. It would really sort of amp it up. Whereas I think what's so great about this show is that the initial joke of like Louie Anderson playing the mother is there, and then the even greater joke is how seriously and believable it is, and how much it's played straight rather than played to be a joke. Like that's an even greater joke to play on this.
And not on purpose, by the way. I go in with the idea that I'm Zach's mom. I go in there. This is my son, my other son Dale, the adopted twins. These are all my kids. And that's how I'm going into the part. And so I try to do it from there. But you're right. It's like I try to not be cartoony,
What did you think of Christine, or what did you know about her as the show sort of started to develop?
Well, she's had a hard life herself, so. And then I grew up in the Midwest, in Bakersfield, even though it's not the Midwest. I grew up in St. Paul, which is kind of like Rochester, New York. That's a real city, and people work really hard.
Blue-collar city.
Blue-collar, and also, there's something real about being in a smaller city, where you probably know at least somebody's relative to the person you just saw, that connection. And so with Christine, I tried to just make her that real, like, I try to make Christine a problem solver, not a person who gives up on anything. She's in charge of the whole world in her mind.
She's fiercely defensive of Chip.
What do you mean?
To others.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, she is. She is.
What was the line from the clip in the episode that we just watched? But there's another scene in that where a woman says, "I saw Chip at a rodeo, or he was doing this," and kind of putting him down. And Christine says, "Didn't I see your daughter high on meth at the supermarket?"
Well, here's what happens when you're a parent, I think, or when you're a brother or sister, and somebody's talking about somebody that's your brother, sister, son. She goes, "I saw Chip down at the rodeo." Well, in your head, you're going, "I saw your daughter methed out of her gourd down at the,
Yeah.
And then I think she says the line I like best is when my character says, "Oh, maybe she changed her hair." Because that would be a real, like, underhanded, don't think I don't know your daughter's out of it, just like my son might be out of it.
Now, I'm curious, you're not playing up the femininity of the character, like we said. You're not changing your voice or putting on any affects. But do you think about the femininity of the character and bringing yourself closer to that emotionally? Is there a different place that you're going to or thinking about emotionally?
I think if I were a woman, I would probably look like that. Do you know what I mean? I might be a little more laid back, but I think I'd look in that one too. That's very I think I'd have nice, soft clothing on that would be loose fitting because I'm big, so that when I spun around, it would fan out a little. I think I would really be that real casual, I want to be a comfortable human being. I always go, "Oh, I can't wear these pants. They're killing me." You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't want to tuck in my shirt. That kind of stuff. So when I picked all this stuff out, though, I went through the whole rack of everything as if I was my mom. I go, my mom would wear this. My mom would wear that. Oh, my mom would never wear that. That. And then I found that hat.
That hat
I said, "Oh, this hat."
That hat is amazing.
The hat's the new Halloween costume, I hope, this year. It's such a great hat that I said to the FX people, I said, "Let's give it away. Let's have a contest and have somebody have it." Because it's such a great hat. I mean, I know I ever wore women's clothes before this, except in one other sketch I did for Dom Herrera. But if I was a woman and I saw a hat, I might get that hat. Right? Yeah. I mean, you don't think that's much of a hat, but that's a hat. I'm telling you that. When I walked into the church that day, nobody had a hat like that. Anyways, see, that's the kind of stuff in the Midwest that I think people think of. I think people from, I had a mom who's kind of a pack rat, not a hoarder because we had aisles still, but
Get through.
You could get through, Oh God, but it was really true. She had stuff everywhere, and my mom would have taken something. This is a bit in my act, but I would have to go to garage sales with her, and she'd go, "Look at this fork for a nickel," and I go, "All right," and she'd go, "That's a good fork for a nickel." Then she'd, do that, her eyes up. I go, "Why don't you get it?" "I'm going to offer the guy 3 cents for it." And I would go, "Why are you embarrassing us like this?" But my mom made everything really special. And I think that's the essence of the character. I just realized that just this moment, that the reason that I talk about the curly fries, the reason that I talk about the Desante like I did, my mom, we were really poor, and we didn't have an easy life with my dad being an alcoholic. She made little weird things special.
She had to.
She had to, but she had to, I go, and to this day, when I go to someone's house, I go, "There's a cheap fork, huh?" Or whatever it is. Yeah. Like a cheap fork irritates me, not because I really care, but because my mom put that flag in my head.
It's one of those wonderful things that you realize in retrospect about parents is the things that they did and they had to do to sort of emotionally survive at the time. You just thought were this weird thing or was kind of annoying, and then as you get older, you remember your parents and you think, "Oh, my mother did that to protect us and to be positive, and to have a certain amount of light around me." I just thought it was annoying when I was 9.
Yes, isn't it true?
Yeah.
We do this whole thing with our parents, "Shut up, you're ruining our lives," right? Yeah. And then we tell other people, "Leave her alone, that's my mom," and "What'd you say about," what I mean? Yeah. You make that transition where you become fiercely protective of those people, in your family, because your whole DNA and everything is set up from them.
Mm-hmm. You start realizing their idiosyncrasies and quirks were actually an attempt to help and be better.
And to nurture, which is another thing that Christine, in her own way, she tries to nurture people.
What was it like for you? I mean, when Louie and Zach, I would say, are known as alternative comics. More Zach than Louie. Louie has become fairly mainstream. I mean, as is Zach. But initially started in a sort of alternative New York City comedy scene. Louie with Smigel and Conan, and Zach just his own work. And you were a pretty sort of mainstream, family-oriented comic in many ways for a number of years. Did you think that your guys' sensibilities were going to match up when you started the show, or is that not something that even occurred to you?
I mean, people get the wrong idea of my comedy. They think, "Oh, he's sweet," and everything like that. But, I mean, I'm as dark as any of those guys. I don't mind that particular field. Alternative comic, I was a poor kid, so I said, "Well, I'm going to do comedy where I can make some money." I said, "I'm going to get on the Tonight Show, I'm going to tour, I'm going to make some money." Because we were poor. So I didn't think, "Oh, I'm going to be true to myself."
Right.
Because I am being true to myself. There's a part of me that's joyful and loves talking about my family. And I want you to be able to bring your mom and dad to my show so they can enjoy it too. But I have a really great opportunity now with this show and with the idea, I'm going to explore a little different side of myself now on stage. Because, I used to be more like a little more bitter as a comic. A little more I used to do a joke. I go, I read this thing in the paper where a guy killed his whole family. I said, "I don't think it starts out that way, but the rush of the first one must just carry you through." Right? Now that's dark. That's dark. But it's funny to me because
fantastic.
But you know what I mean? But it's funny But my audience that, comes to see me because I'm nice or sweet or whatever, I think they can handle it. You know?
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, I'm going to do it, so I want to give it a shot. I mean, get some millennials. Is it millennials? Get the millennials. Is it millennials? No one knows for sure. Huh? What is that? Those are millennials. They're right over there.
There's a few of them out
There's
here.
1,000 of them out there. They don't care about you, and they're just going to walk right by you. Watch. Look at that.
Do you think that's a general misunderstanding of comedies and of comedy and comedians, which is the sort of breaking them up into sub-labels as
Yes,
if
I really
comedians themselves
resent it.
don't just understand each
I
other?
used to do kind of a mean joke. I go, he's an alternative comic, they would say. And I go, you mean he doesn't make any money? Because that's what it meant to me. Yeah. Because, that's a specific thing. Like an alternative comic might make a few $1,000s a night, I think, if they're super popular. But they're not going to make $10,000 a night, I appreciate it. I love Lenny Bruce. I love all the alternative comics. Nick Swartzen is a really good friend of mine, We grew up in Minnesota, and he was on one of my very first shows where I introduced comics. And I go, him and also Mitch Hedberg. I was a huge fan of Mitch. I'm as dark as any comic, but I think labeling comics, is different. The thing I noticed about now is the presentation has to be more immediate. Like the setup, you can't do these long setups and this more standard comedy thing that you're talking about. And people want to be surprised. A joke, might just be a different thing than it was back then.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Like there isn't a, hey, let us seat your party first, ma'am. It might just be, that might be the joke, or,
Right.
it comes from a different part of the joke that already existed, by the way.
Right.
So what I think happened is, because people are now so connected to electronics, that they can multitask. Like you could be writing your script, checking your phone, and watching my show. That never happened when we were. Like that wouldn't, in my day, that wouldn't be the context of it.
So the jokes themselves are almost multitasking as well at the same time.
People have a greater capacity to glean out of all three things and do all. I think there's a greater capacity. Right. If they could just make that. That's New York and one.
Someone got murdered.
That's somebody who's just is a ambulance driver and they want to get to lunch. That's my take on it. Just turn it on. I'm hungry.
Now with Christine, we only have a couple episodes left of the season, right?
Yeah.
You guys have been picked up for a second season, haven't you?
We have.
Have you already started writing and working?
I've been in the writer's room a few times. It's been really great.
So what you go into the writer's room, is that something that makes the other writers nervous or anything because you're going to have takes on your character? Or is everyone pretty much open to ideas?
It's really a nice, everybody's really, really nice, And I probably talk too much in the writer's room because I need a lot of attention,
Is that true?
Yeah. Why would I be up here? Am I right? Why would you come up here and almost kill yourself? Obviously they don't have any old people coming here because there's no railing. But isn't that true, though?
It is true.
There's no ramp. There's no railing. And they haven't even finished building the room. That is amazing.
Such a weird thing to clap for.
Well, somebody else thought that was sitting out there. Jesus, where are we? And will we ever be seen again?
All of you that are repeat viewers, do you come here every day hoping that the room is finished? It's a stylistic choice.
No, but they would like something to drink, I think. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure you get stuff. Do you? You should see the spread back here. There's a big plate of stuff that you can eat. It's further back.
You'll never get it.
Yeah.
Ever.
But I don't even know what you said. Do you?
Something about the writer's room.
Oh,
we were
so
talking
we're in the
about.
writer's
Attention.
room. I just want to talk about Jonathan Kryso, Portlandia, Saturday Night Live.
He's the showrunner.
I think Men Seeking Women, I think he's part of that. He's an unbelievable, interesting person. And so, we're in the writer's room, and there's a big board, and they got 10 different episodes going, and I'm thinking, how can I get more for my character? I'm just being honest. And I just say, I think that's what everybody thinks, And so also, how do I not infuse who I am too much because how the beauty that they brought me last year? So I'm really careful and conscious of that, because this Jonathan and the writers, the way they do it, I said to them, we're up on the board working, and they work. I sat there for 6 hours with them, and I'm thinking, whew, are we finished?
Yeah.
Honestly, from my perspective, I'm a comedian. I write jokes. I write, but the process was so fascinating. So I says to Jonathan, when do you know it's done? And he said the last minute.
Yeah.
And I go, oh my God, this guy's a genius. This is why the stuff we're doing is so great.
It's done when it's airing, when
It's
they finish
done,
cutting
yeah,
it.
like when it's done being shot, probably. Or not even then, because of the editing. But I just realized the process was a living being.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a living, moving thing. And I got so lucky to be with Louie C.K. and Zach Galifianakis, who is one of the most original and the nicest guy, talked to everybody on the set. Just so humble. Really sweet, sweet human being. And Martha Kelly, I just don't want to leave her out.
Martha Kelly, who is amazing, an incredible find, was apparently just a stand-up that Zach had known
They know
for a
for
number
20
of years.
years,
They'd known
yeah.
for 20 years, but didn't know each other that well. They just kind of knew of each other, had met a couple times, and he called her randomly. She had never acted before, asked her to be in the show, and now you're doing a stand-up.
We're at Caroline's the week of the 24th.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. I'm going to go to that.
Oh,
She's
good.
so funny, and
Yeah.
she's such an odd voice.
And she's so scared that my audience won't like her. I go, what if your audience isn't like me? Those 3 people could terrorize me. I'm just kidding.
Now, was Christine?
I'm sure a half dozen.
Was Christine always meant to be as large, as central of a role in the show as she was, or was there something about after a few episodes they noticed how interesting your character was, how interesting it was to watch you play this character, and they started developing it more?
I never asked any of those questions, because I always think all the questions I ask are dumb questions. No, I don't mean it in a mean way, but I know that I can be, I'm fun, but I am possibly the guy you go, let's not invite Louie to this, because he dominates. I don't mean it in a mean way, but just because he just talks all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I have
Yeah,
that same.
so you're that
I
guy,
have
too.
that
Yeah.
insecure paranoia as well. Which
Yeah.
I like
So-
attention, and that's why I'm up here. And so if I'm at a party, am I demanding attention by
Yes.
accident? Am I over talking
Yeah.
or too loud? Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. I think everyone should be able to carry a mic around. Hey, how are you guys? Nice to see you. Can I get the number 7? Hi, in the kitchen. Hello, how are you? They love me here. But I think I don't ask any of that stuff because I really have a really rare opportunity. I'm from another era of making a sitcom with 3 cameras, walking on, having an audience, and boom, right? Here, I'm in a unbelievable think tank or fishbowl or whatever you want to call it. Jonathan is over on the side twirling his hair, thinking about what we just shot. Then he'll turn and go, let's shoot it again. And then, I made a deal with myself. No questions, no complaining, and not saying no when I shot the show. I said, yeah, you can't say no about anything, and you can't complain about everything. And let me tell you, I love to complain. I love to complain. And I don't mean it in a mean way. I just go, oh, I got to get some attention. Right? You know, I think it's that in my nature. It's in my family's DNA. We were lazy Norwegians and or Neanderthals.
So it's in the. You come from a blue collar city. I come from a blue collar city as well. It's in the blue collar blood to come home and complain about your day at work.
I was on my feet all day.
He came over to me. He said, "I'm going to work late tonight, so I'm going to go to my foreman. I'm going to tell him, no way."
Exactly.
You know?
It's all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that it is by nature, but I'm so lucky and so satisfied in this part that I kind of just slip in the background when I can and go, oh, I'm really lucky. It's hardly ever in life do you get a chance to take a look at what you're doing and say, this is really a big opportunity. Well, the first episode I said, I'm involved with something really special.
Yeah.
And Louie C.K. and Jonathan Kreisel and Zach Galifianakis and Martha and me, we're all doing a wonderful experiment that hopefully is something new on TV. And Jonathan said to me, he said, just think of this as a 3.5-hour movie, these episodes. And that really helped me, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we can turn it over for audience questions. Does anyone have any questions out here in the audience?
Hi, I just wanted to know what was your favorite
Everybody
scene?
does have their own microphone. Oh my God, thank you, AOL. Oh my God. Did you get any, are there snacks that I can't see? I'm sorry.
But I just wanted to know your favorite scene to shoot from the show or episode or anything.
Well, my favorite funny scenes with Martha, Zach, and I on the couch. I don't know if you remember that episode. So I said to Zach, I said to Jonathan, can you give me something to pull over my legs so I'm like laying on the couch? Because my mom used to lay on the couch kind of sideways, and then we would all sit on there. And sometimes as a kid, I would lay, on my mom's legs. You know how she'd make that little area as a kid where you could lay in there? And I said, Zach, he wouldn't do it. I tried to get him. I go, oh, it'd be killer if you would lay your head on my leg like that. And then we got to just play around with the Arby's stuff. So there's an Arby's episode where we, and our first fast food was an Arby's in our town. So I'm an Arby's, fan of Arby's. So, and then we got to the curly fries. I said to Zach, why don't you get a job at Arby's? Everybody's always happy at Arby's. You never see unhappy people at Arby's, and you could get curly fries. And Martha goes, yeah, that's a bonus. I go, don't you love them, Martha? She goes, yeah. I go, how do you think they make them? It was really like Christine's, how do they make those? Because I've tried and she goes, I think they have a little thing that cuts them that way. And I go, oh, if you ever see one, will you pick one up for me? And that was my mom in a nutshell, and me, and the excitement of something so, mundane, we talked about what we dip them in. So that was my favorite scene because we all just had fun and made stuff up and, took from the script, but, took from ourselves too.
Next question.
Hi, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You talked about the process being different when you're writing for your stand-up versus TV. Can you talk about maybe the actual performance, emotionally, physically, what's different for you? If you have any preferences when you're on stage as a comic or behind a camera.
How many questions is this? Did anybody take down that stuff for me? No, it was very sweet. I see that you bought your red shoes to match mine. I appreciate it. This is a very Midwest thing. These are Crocs, and they're winter boots. So.
They don't look like Crocs. I never would have guessed Croc.
I know you wouldn't.
It's smart.
I love them. Anyway, so the process of stand-up is, for instance, I wonder if I have my phone. I didn't. Oh, I do have it. So, for instance, here's how I write jokes. I'll just tell you this. I wrote it down today. Turn into my father. Let me take a hold on a second. I thought this would be an interesting bit. That most news places have obituaries already planned for most celebrities. I go, I like to see mine. I like to make sure they have everything in there. So I thought that would I wrote it down. I didn't used to have to write anything down, but I do now. So I'll make that into a joke. And then I'm working on a new animated show. And I was on Michael and Kelly, you know that show? Used to be Regis and some other woman. And I said, I was watching it, and I said, can I get one of the mugs? Because I'm a Midwesterner. I said, can I get one of the mugs? That's like one of my favorite things is free stuff. It just is. And then I said, in the animated show I'm working on, I should have a whole thing of celebrity mugs. And every day I would pick a different one according to how I feel. You know, should I do the Craig Ferguson? Oh, I don't have the energy for that. Right? So that is a different writing. The stand-up thing, the celebrity mugs thing, is more of that. And then with the writing for the show, what I say to them is, what if Christine gets a boyfriend? I said, what do you guys think of that? I go, just a thought. Do you know what I mean? So I'm more of that thing, and then, you know, what would be the intent and how would it work with everything? Because with writing, there's all kinds of other things involved when it's a script. When it's just Louie-centric, it's whatever I want to do. So there's a whole different thing. So I hope I answered. Did I answer your questions? Okay.
When you do the stand-up, when you say the bit that you had written down about newspapers and obituaries and what yours would be, how far into that joke do you go, or is that essentially it?
That's
you
the
get
beginning.
On stage?
No, then I see where I can take it.
Do you see,
I throw it out.
Do you see where you can take it while on stage, or is it
Yeah,
something
I see it. I see I don't want to investigate too much about it at the beginning. I don't want to ruin it for the audience. I want to just do, like, I didn't ever have that line that I just did with you guys. I didn't have that line. I just wrote down obituaries at news stations, and then the line came, I wonder if I could see mine.
Right.
That was just here. That was just now. So that's always how I've developed my stand-up. Mm-hmm. It's better that it's a nugget, and then if the audience is great, like this audience, they got it right away, and it's fun, and then I see how long I can take it. Because isn't it a horrible idea that there's an obituary already for you? I mean, what if they're using that picture you hate of yourself? And it will be, too. He was loved. Oh, not that.
Next question from the audience.
Hi, I wanted to know, did you look at any comics to see how to impersonate women? And are you going to relaunch your old animated series again?
I am not going to relaunch Life with Louie. And although I love doing it, if somebody wanted to make it, but it costs $500,000 to make each episode. And, you know, Adult Swim is kind of the thing now. And it's more like, if Seth MacFarlane came to me and said, hey, I want to redo Life with Louie, I go, yeah. But I'm making a show that's kind of like the real Life with Louie. It's really my life. Like this would be in the show. Like we would come to you and go, hey, can we use the interview we did? And then we could, we would open it, or that would be a part of my day. Trying to really be the real me, and, the soup I just had, and, the real stuff that happened today. And the fact that, I forgot my belt and I lost some weight, so my pants fell down when I came up from downstairs as I was walking by the photographers. My pants fell right down. But luckily, they were done shooting me. So it was really good. But I would have liked to have got the shot. I think that would have been funny.
Are you finding working on Christine or working as Christine and on Baskets, are you finding new inspiration as a comic and as an artist as well in the stuff that you're developing?
I have never not had inspiration as a comic. I have not had as inspiration as a person at times. Like, I kind of lost my way a couple of different times in my career where I thought, does everybody hate me now? Because I'm not getting calls, I'm not getting on the Tonight shows, I'm not, because you think you're in this fraternity, and then suddenly, you're not getting the calls that you think you should. Have I been lazy? Yes, I have gotten lazy a few times, but I have never not really been inspired when the light is lit and I get to do it. So, I would say that I'm more inspired than ever. And the greatest thing is I'm 62 and I don't feel 62 and I got a job. Yeah. That's the best thing when you're 62 in show business and somebody goes, hey, do you want to be in a show? Yes, thank you. I've been sitting here for 9 years. I really appreciate it.
I think we have time for one more question right here.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to say, me and my friends really, really love the show, and you're actually our favorite character. And it's not really a question, just to put it out there that we always talk about a Miss Basket spinoff, and I just want to put it into the universe.
Yeah, I think that I have thought of it, but I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah, right.
It's no good for me to bring it up.
Of course, yeah.
I don't know if I'd even want to do it. Of course, it'd be fun. But I wonder if Christine works in that fishbowl and may not work all on her own. It might be a little too much Christine. As long as they were able to balance Christine out, because she's so full of herself and so big in the room. So I always think of that stuff. I'm really in good hands with people who are who are really in charge. And that's, when you're a person who's used to being in charge and you are able to step back and not be in charge, that's a huge gift to yourself. Because even though I want to say, hey, never mind. And you know what I mean? That's a really big thing. I've learned so much about, myself in this process. Because I bet, I thought to myself one day, man, you used to be a real pain in the ass with people, and I really think I was, and I think I hurt myself in that way,
What way do you think you were a pain in the ass?
Just like I was taking up all the space in the conversation, in the relationship, in the room, and and I didn't realize, it comes from being one of 11 children and not having your own stuff and not having enough. So you're looking for the oxygen that you didn't receive growing up. And so, I'm breathing differently now. I'm breathing, like, I'm going to see where this takes me. Because I think the characters, like I said to Jonathan, and I told you backstage, I said, you know what I'd really love for Christine this year? I would love her to be able to twirl. And he goes, what? I go, twirl. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you know what I mean, Jonathan. I am not going to spell it out, but I don't know what it means, except I know that she should twirl. I know that she should have a moment where people go, oh.
Yeah. People sort of get her and feel her, yeah.
Yeah, don't you think that a 400-pound person wants to twirl just like a 120-pound person? And so how can we represent that for all the 400 or 500 or now 600-pound people that are, in our way on the sidewalk when we're trying to go into the store? I just think we should look at, this is an amazing time in the world. We are going to have to examine and re-examine all of us, each of us, really closely now, because the world's really, at an interesting point, and I'll share this with you, even though I'm probably not supposed to.
Yeah, do it.
With the FX, I don't know, Lana. Do you mind if I talk about that next week, Lana? A little bit? Huh? All right. So, next week's episode, there is a lot of it takes place in Paris. And while those guys were making this beautiful art, because I've seen this episode, it's beautiful. 2 blocks away, or 3 blocks, or a mile away, all those people that were planning those murders in Paris were planning them right then. And the day they left from the shoot on Baskets, the next day those killings happened and those attacks. So it just gave me so much pause and thought that here we are on one hand, making art, and on the other hand, destroying humanity. You know, in this proximity, and it made me think that we all need to be making art with each other, you know, and the only way that can happen is if we twirl, if we allow everybody to twirl or to do their thing without judgment. My mom had no, you know, she was a passive-aggressive person from the Midwest, but she welcomed everybody into our home. So I found out about inclusion really early on. And I just think we have to be full of inclusion. And this year in politics is about exclusion. But what we really are looking for is inclusion. If we don't include everyone, and it is not easy, we can't ever survive any of this. And this is a wonderful time for us and the scariest time ever.
I think it's incredible that you've sort of come to these personal realizations through this project, and sort of the, not just realizations, but it sounds like your own epiphanies about yourself and your work, just in doing something a little off the beaten path for your career. It's really beautiful.
I think it was the soup I just had. I think, don't underestimate a delicious bowl of soup.
Louie, congratulations so much on Baskets.
Thanks.
There's a couple more episodes left of the season.
Yeah, 3 more.
3 more episodes
Thank
left.
you so much.
And you're going to be at Caroline's?
I'm going to be at Caroline's with Martha.
With Martha from Baskets.
Martha.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.